Hi everyone. Today I'll be looking at strategies for completing an extract using figured bass. This type of question is often used for grade and university exams and tests not only a candidate's knowledge of figured bass symbols, but also their ability to apply this knowledge to complete an extract in a given style while correctly observing the rules of part writing. Before we begin, there are a few points to keep in mind. Although figured bass is used to indicate essential harmony and voice leading, there is often considerable scope for elaboration in its realization. In other words, there may be several correct interpretations of the figuring. The given parts should be examined to identify any motivic or stylistic patterns which have been established and which should probably be continued. In your realization, it's not necessary to include all of the notes indicated in the figuring. Decisions about which notes to include should be guided by the desired melodic shape and the overall voice leading of the parts. As a general rule, however, suspensions and resolutions of seventh chords should probably be included. And finally, the rules of part writing should always be observed. With these points in mind, let's begin. Here, the figuring indicates suspensions are required, which have been realized in the given violin parts. Looking ahead, we see that according to the figures, this type of texture should probably continue through the following bars. Here, for example, the tied B flat forms the ninth above this A flat note and will probably resolve as here on the second quarter note beat of the bar. As before, the third of this A-flat major chord can also be written as a dotted half note, which will here become the ninth over the following B-flat bass note. Although not indicated in the figuring, the third above the B-flat note, which must be a D-flat to match the third in the continuo, will probably occur in the first violins and will be tied to form the flat ninth indicated here. For reasons beyond the scope of this video, particularly during the Baroque era, often a key signature containing one less sharp or flat to the actual key of a work was used. Here, for example, the piece is in F minor, but a C minor key signature is used. All D flats, therefore, must be included in the score. The third of this dominant must be raised and can be sounded through to the end of the second quarter note beat. Here, above this F, the required lowered seventh, E flat, should probably be kept in the same part as the previous E natural to avoid a false relation. A natural, the raised third, therefore will be in the first violins and can be approached from the C by a B flat, the seventh of the C dominant chord. Here, the figuring indicates that the A natural can be sustained to the end of the bar and that the C also be sounded. In the following bar, the figures then indicate that the C is tied to form the suspended seventh and that it resolves on the second quarter note beat of this bar. One literal realization of these figures produces the following interpretation. Pergolesi, however, actually wrote this. Here, the A natural indicated in the figuring is not used in the latter part of the bar, and Pergolesi instead uses the C in both violin parts. The required A natural, therefore, is supplied by the organist, who would be realizing the figuring as a chordal accompaniment to the strings. As mentioned earlier, there may be several interpretations of a given passage, and it is not always necessary to include all of the notes indicated in the figuring. In these bars, therefore, Pergolesi probably chose to include the tied C in the first violins to continue the pattern of suspensions established in the previous bars, and in the second violins he probably omitted the A natural to preserve the stepwise line to D flat. Continuing with our hypothetical realization, in the second part of this bar, the raised leading note of the C dominant seventh would need to be approached from this F half note, while the B flat could be sustained to sound the seventh. Because this dominant harmony is continued into the next bar, Some kind of arpeggio or scale figure would probably be needed to drive the music onto the following second inversion tonic chord. Pergolesi writes the following figure, which transfers the leading note and seventh down an octave for resolution onto the second inversion tonic chord. He then uses the same idea here over the tonic. Here, because of the spacing of the preceding first inversion supertonic seventh chord, Pergolesi follows the rules of voice leading to resolve these notes to the second inversion tonic and onto the dominant. The supertonic seventh becomes the tonic root note and then moves to the third of dominant harmony, while its third moves to the third of tonic harmony and onto the fifth of the dominant. To avoid consecutive fifths between the root note and fifth degrees of the dominant and submediant chords, F, the third of submediant harmony, may be doubled. Pergolesi, however, moves the third and fifth degrees of the submediant up an octave and uses an eighth note rest to create more separation between the chords. He then repeats this idea here over the same harmony. This idea also could be used over the same harmony in this bar. Borrowing melodic ideas from bars containing the same progressions is a common means which composers use to build their compositions, and is one which should be utilised when completing this type of exam question. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. See you next time.